Of course, people can unsubscribe.
I wish that happened more often.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that would be fantastic because then YouTube can understand your audience as you pivot your channel topic.
Yes.
Which currently is a big problem for channels that are trying to change their topic, even in small ways.
Yeah.
YouTube suddenly can't figure out who wants your videos and maybe even thinks you're just publishing bad videos because your current audience doesn't care about them. So that would be amazing.
If someone hasn't watched my video in, I don't know, what do you think is the right amount of time? X amount of time. If someone hasn't watched any of my videos, what do you think?
Automatic unsubscribe.
Just automatic YouTube unsubscribes them.
I think 3 to 6 months. And then I think there should be a junk folder where you can at least, you don't lose them.
Yes, I agree. Maybe just different statuses like active subscriber, inactive subscriber. And then have it segmented out. I think that would be really cool. And if it was just as simple as a time period, maybe it is 6 months where it's this person has not interacted with your content in 6 months. They're still here. They did indicate at one point, but they're not really doing anything for you. I think that would be so helpful to know.
Maybe I will throw it out to some people at Vid Summit, see what we can do. Welcome back to the Creative Pals Podcast. Today we are talking about all things subscribers. So that's asking people to subscribe or maybe not asking people to subscribe so often, and even asking for other things in place of subscribers on occasion. So Nathan, you just made a video about this on Channel Makers, and I know we have a lot more we could dig into that we didn't have time for in that video. But what was kind of the main takeaway of that video?
I think for me, the main takeaway is just the value of audience. There were a couple things in that video that people really didn't like. Maybe we can talk about a couple of those things here. But I think to me, the main value or the main takeaway as I prepped for that video, did some research, and then recorded it was there's value in audience on YouTube. And subscribers represent that to some extent. I think there's a lot of misconception around the true value of subscribe, like the actual act of subscribing, and then what that does for your channel. There's a lot that goes into that, probably more than what most people understand, because so often on YouTube, the two things that everyone jokes about always hearing, like and subscribe, right?
Yep.
That's the call to action. That's sort of a meme at this point. Why do people ask for subscriptions so often if it's not that important? It's complicated. It really is complicated, but at the end of the day, it's all about the audience on YouTube, and subscribers just represent that.
Yeah. So let's talk about a couple of reasons people do ask for subscribers. For anyone who's listening to this and not familiar, to get monetized on YouTube, which means qualify for earning money via YouTube ads, you have to have 1,000 subscribers or more and 4,000 watch hours within the last year.
Yes.
So that's a big reason people are trying to get to 1,000. But after 1,000, there isn't a lot of value to it aside from maybe social proof. If people come to your channel and they see, oh, you have a lot of subscribers, maybe they will, respect your channel or what you have to say a little more. But that's about it. Aside from, if people have subscribed to your channel and have the notifications turned on, they might get notified when you publish and be more likely to keep watching. But if they weren't going to keep watching anyways, if they just enjoy this one-off video and then you convince them to subscribe to help you out, if anything, it could hurt your channel.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's a really good point, which is so funny to me. If the first 1,000 subscribers are the most important subscribers, really, because like you said, after 1,000 subscribers, you don't need 100,000 subscribers. You don't unlock anything on the YouTube platform once you hit 1,000 or 100,000 or 1 million or 10 million or 100 million. It really is that first 1,000 that means so much to creators. And I wonder if a lot of creators just get stuck in that habit of, asking for the asking for the subscribe. Maybe it is that they're looking for that social proof, as you get 5, 10, 20,000 subs, you look for that social proof. But I think people ask too much or just in the wrong way. And I think that leads to cases like you just described where you get people subscribing for the wrong reasons, which doesn't turn them into your true audience, which just hurts your case really when you put out a video. If the people who have subscribed to you don't end up watching your videos, that tells YouTube that the people who subscribe to you either aren't the right people for you, or that YouTube might come to think that your video isn't good or might not match what your audience is. So it gets kind of complicated. It's not as cut and dry as just please subscribe, and that'll be the best thing for the channel. It really isn't always the best thing for the channel.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people fall into that because they want some measurable way to track their progress.
Yeah.
And views, although they're a better gauge of how well your channel is doing, they're so up and down. You can't just say, okay, I got one more. It's not this ever increasing thing.
Right.
It's up and down and up and down and up and down. And eventually it almost always travels up, but it takes a lot of time and it's not as easy or satisfying to see. I got one more.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, people can unsubscribe, but it's not quite as much a fluctuation as views.
I wish that that happened more often.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that would be fantastic because then YouTube can understand your audience as you pivot your channel topic.
Yes.
Which currently is a big problem for channels that are trying to change their topic, even in small ways.
Yeah.
YouTube suddenly can't figure out who wants your videos and maybe even thinks you're just publishing bad videos because your current audience doesn't care about them. So that would be amazing.
If someone hasn't watched my video in, I don't know, what do you think is the right amount of time? X amount of time. If someone hasn't watched any of my videos, what do you think?
Automatic unsubscribe.
Just automatic YouTube unsubscribes them.
I think 3 to 6 months. And then I think there should be a junk folder where you can at least, you don't lose them.
Yes, I agree. So maybe just different statuses, like active subscriber, inactive subscriber. So and then have it segmented out. I think that would be really cool. And if it was just as simple as a time period, maybe it is 6 months, where it's this person has not interacted with your content in 6 months. They're still here. They did indicate at one point, but they're not really doing anything for you. I think that would be so helpful to know.
Yeah. And then even as a viewer, you can go back and find old channels that you used to love. You don't have to worry about losing them forever unless you save them to some spreadsheet.
Like this.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Maybe I will throw it out to some people at Vid Summit, see what we can do.
That'd be cool.
That'd be unlikely, but it'd be amazing because that is a big thing of dead subscribers. It's just this huge predicament on YouTube.
Yeah.
And that seems like a simple solution.
I have a couple stats to share here.
All right.
This is really interesting. And I'm not going to share the exact numbers because I don't have it in front of me, but basically I'll give you an idea. So someone not Income School YouTube channel, our other channel makers, they asked about our number of views that we're getting on average per video compared to the number of subscribers that we have. And it was a really insightful question, sort of you have X number of subscribers. How come you're not getting X number of views or that sort of thing? Anyway, I thought it was a good question, and I decided to kind of dig into it a little bit because I think we were getting 1.3% of our subscribership in views watching each video on average. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. So I went around and I looked at just other YouTube education channels in the industry and just looked and saw, okay, if I average out their last 6 months of videos, the views that they're getting, what percentage of their subscribership are they getting in views on average on every video? And I think in every case, I looked at 3 or 4 channels, it fell between 1% and 3.5%. And so it was very normal. And it was really interesting because, we've seen on Channel Makers, our views have declined a little bit over the past year, but we're still within normal range. We were on the top end of the normal range and maybe even a little bit outside of the normal range before, but our channel is still in normal range. But from the perspective of someone who isn't doing that study, doing that research on the channel, it looks like, oh, you're not getting that many views compared to the number of subscribers. But again, I just think that goes to show the lack of value in a lot of subscribers. If we look at channels like Think Media, they have millions of subscribers across all their channels, but they're getting 1 to 3% of views or, subscriber in views on every one of their videos, just like we are. And it was just really interesting to me to see that, not only just to kind of validate that we're not that far off, on our views as far as industry standards go, but also really stood out to me. The whole subscriber thing is pretty meaningless on a day-to-day basis.
And I'm sure that varies a bit between different industries, but still that is so much lower than I would have expected and so much lower than I think most people would expect. And I think that indicates that I'd be very surprised if it was that far off in other industries and topics, right? So probably somewhere along those lines. And I think people have a huge misconception of this because your loyal audience is the most likely to comment. Yeah. I think people are used to reading comments of oh, I love all your videos, or oh, this really explains more about your last video, or every time I see a video of yours, I always watch no matter what it is. So then you get in your head oh, my subscribers watch every single video I make. Not true.
They do not.
Maybe the commenters. No, not even close. And you're going to have those really loyal people but they're more likely to comment. So then they make it look like you have, you know, it can result in the illusion of more loyal subscribers than you actually have. Now, it's still a great goal, even though that's the typical range. You said 1 to 3?
It was like 1 to 3 or 1 to 3.5%.
Wow.
And like you said, it does vary by industry. So I did the same thing in some very entertainment heavy channels, like Mr. Beast, and then Mr. Beast like channels. So channels that were similar style of his, and they were on average closer to 50% of their subscribership in views on average on every video.
Wow.
So it's a lot higher for the it seemed to be a lot higher on the entertainment side of things, which sort of tracks to me because, again, we're just looking at overall views on average per video. We can't, from the outside, I can't tell if those are subscribed views or unsubscribed views. All I can see is that on average, they got this number of views per video over the last 6 months, and that's about, on average per video, 50% of their subscribership number overall. And it did vary a little bit, but it was way higher than like the education niche, which to me makes sense because entertainment can spread way further. So even if the subscribers subscribe, they aren't watching anymore. I think there's a lot more spreadability opportunity for the entertainment niche in comparison to the education type channels.
That's so interesting. I'm glad you did that research. I'd like to dig into that more and try it on different channels and ask maybe even our audience, like, what are you getting compared to your subscribers? 'Cause that's valuable to know. And then finding strategies to increase that a little bit. And I think watch next is a big thing of like a compelling reason to watch next, not just watch this video next, because if you like this video, you'll probably like this next video, which admittedly we've done before recently because sometimes we don't always have a next video planned. But when we do, you know, we see that rate of watch next go up, and then you have a higher average views or average videos per viewer on your channel, which I think is an underrated metric. So that's pretty cool. Do you think that the algorithm is any more likely to recommend a channel you're subscribed to aside from just in the notifications, or maybe even less likely because they think they already gave it to you in the notifications?
Right off the top of my head, think yes, just because I indicated that I probably wanted to see that more often. Now, if my behavior, like let's say I subscribed to a channel 6 months ago and I watched their content for 6 weeks, kind of, you know, once a week for 6 weeks, and then I stopped, now it's been 6 months. Are they just as likely or less likely or more likely? That's a good question. I don't really know about that scenario because it's like I indicated I wanted it, but they've been giving it to me and I haven't been taking it. So are they going to try and show me other things? I don't know. That's a really good question, though. What do you think?
I suspect that they don't show it anymore at all.
Really?
Yeah, and I could be wrong on that. I'd love to try to test this. There'd be no way to get like a definitive answer, but we could test it and try to see what we're noticing. I was talking to a friend recently who was so frustrated because he was saying he never gets recommendations from the channels he's subscribed to. And he really wants to like waste less time on YouTube. So he wants to only be getting suggestions from these like educational channels, these channels that he feels like are uplifting. But YouTube is constantly like, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? And it's so frustrating to him. He's like, why will they not show me, you know, I've watched every video on this channel for a year, and then I don't for 2 weeks. I missed 2 weeks because I haven't logged on to YouTube, and then they're never going to show it to me again. So that might be an exaggerated case study, but it does seem like they want you to jump around so much. They don't want you to just be happy with the 5 or 10 or 50 channels you're subscribed to, because they want you to keep watching more and more and more and get attached to new channels. And it's almost like they already have you for that old channel. So they want to get you on some new ones too. Like, well, we already sold you this thing, so we need to sell you some new things.
That makes sense to me. I think that that we know YouTube wants people to be on platform per session as long as possible, and then as often as possible. So I think that totally makes sense. And I think maybe they're more likely to recommend to you similar channels because, like you said, you've kind of already taken the bait on one channel, and it's like, okay, they like this. What can we give them now? Because I think YouTube knows. I think that they've probably built it into the algorithm. They know that there's sort of this lifespan of you being interested in a certain channel. Yeah. Even on some of my favorite channels that I've ever watched, there's just sort of this lifespan of my interest in their content. And sometimes I watch more, sometimes I watch less. Sometimes it's like, I haven't watched them in 6 months, but I really love their channel. YouTube knows that. And so I think maybe they're likely to recommend related channels so that you can sort of restart that life cycle process
with a different creator.
As often as possible to keep you sucked in.
I feel like if YouTube did show the channels you're subscribed to on your homepage, like much more often, let's say they showed it way more, people would be more careful about what they subscribe to. Right now, people do like pity subscribes, and they're a dead subscriber because they're like, oh, you asked nicely, and you put a lot of work in this video, so I guess I should subscribe. I don't know how many people actually do that, but we know that there are dead subscribers. I mean, there's a million channels I'm subscribed to that I haven't touched in years. But if that was constantly showing up on my homepage and I knew that it was because I was subscribed to it, I'd unsubscribe. And then you have a more accurate subscriber loyalty interest base.
So you think that would be better if it showed up more often? So for the user, it would be better.
Maybe not for YouTube.
Probably not for YouTube. And would it be better? Do you think it benefit the creator too?
I think so.
I think in the long run, initially I was like, I don't know how I'd feel about that. But people are unsubscribing anyway. You know, it's interesting. We don't often look at the unsubscribe numbers, but I have been looking across quite a few of our channels. And if you look, it's harder to see on maybe a month-to-month basis, especially if you're not losing that many subscribers. But if you look in like the last 12 months of your channel, if you have a substantial number of subscribers, I guarantee you've lost that. You've lost some. You know, you've just probably grown more than what you've lost. But we're always losing subscribers. And I just think that that's a good thing. I think that those people falling off and sort of self-selecting to remove themselves, it's a really good thing. Because otherwise you just have really inflated numbers, but you're not getting the value that you need to get your videos pushed out farther.
Yeah.
Maybe we should talk about the value, though, of inflated numbers of subscribership, because I mentioned this briefly in the video, but there is some value to having a large number right next to your channel name. So kind of two main things. And this was actually one of the most contested points of the video, I would say. I think I just maybe didn't say it right, like I could have. But a lot of people really didn't like the idea that there's this air of authority and value to having a lot of subscribers, and that people, especially brands, like to see and work with larger channels. People really didn't like that, and I kind of still stand by that because I believe it. I think it's true. I think a brand is way more likely to work with someone who has 200,000 subs than they would be to work with someone who has 10,000. And
you stating that in a video doesn't mean you're saying that's the way it should be.
Right.
You're just presenting a fact.
I think the reason it hurt a lot of people is because a lot of people who watch channel makers are small channels, and it just felt maybe a little bit unachievable. Maybe like, okay, well, great. That's not where I am. You just told me that I'm not going to be successful, even though that wasn't the point. You know,
the point is there is some value to asking for subscribers, even if they aren't watching every video.
Yeah, I think it's a good point to remember, though. Brands want to work with larger channels because even if you're not getting that many views, it's social proof. It shows that at some point you've had this many people who have been interested in your channel, and it's kind of a track record thing too. It's like you're probably more likely to get better views than someone with a smaller channel. Yeah. That's not how it always goes. And you and I know that, and probably a lot of people listening know that. There are some small channels who get way more views than some of the big channels do. Right. That just happens.
And I would say if you're trying to get a brand deal and you have a lot more subscribers and a low percentage of those subscribers watching your videos, lean into that. Play up your subscriber count.
Yes.
If it's the opposite, lean into that.
Totally.
And remind that brand that views are what actually matters. Dead subscribers don't matter. And a lot of, repeat viewers, a loyal audience shows that the channel is on an upward trajectory, not a downward trajectory. So that could be a very good thing. I mean, not necessarily, but market yourself a little bit. Lean into what's good about whatever you're dealing with to try to work with these brands. And
it's very likely that every channel is going to be in one of those positions, right? It's either I'm getting more views and I have less subscribers, or I have less subscribers, I'm getting more views. So I just feel like you're going to run into those scenarios. And like you said, you're better off playing into the one that works the best in your favor.
Yeah. Or even if you're getting like a lot of likes and comments compared to how many views you get.
Yes.
I mean, most small channels don't get a lot of comments, but every once in a while you'll see a small channel where the engagement is just excellent. So lean into that. Be like, well, yeah, I don't get a ton of views and I don't have a ton of subscribers, but look how loyal this audience is. And as it builds up, the conversion rate, the likelihood that they're going to buy whatever I'm promoting is a lot higher. So, or sell your own stuff and then you don't have to worry about brands.
Yeah. I do love the idea. I like these ideas because you can be successful as a small creator. You don't have to have 100,000 subscribers to be successful. You can make money.
We have my favorite video. One of my favorite videos on our channel is about people we worked with who have made money with 500 subscribers or less.
Yeah.
A lot of them under 1,000 subscribers, making like decent money in a lot of cases, or at least getting a start to make money.
Yep.
500, you can get to 500 in a year if you really work at it. And then you're making some money, and then you just scale it from there. So
yeah, totally. I have a small channel, not to brag. 490 subscribers.
Nice.
Last month we made over $600.
What? Nice.
That's more than $1 per subscriber.
Yeah. So what do you want? Do you want this channel with 500,000 subscribers that's making, $100 per month on ads because you don't get that many views, or maybe you get views, but it's just the YouTube ads, which you don't make a ton of money on? Or do you want your 600 for 400 subscribers?
I'll take 600.
Yeah.
Every day.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And just think like the scalability of that. And is it more work to make that money? Yeah. As a small creator, it does take a little bit more work to make that money. But at the end of the day, we're all putting in a ton of work anyway. So why not just focus on the things that are actually going to make a difference?
Right. Yeah. And I would say in a lot of ways, it's less work than getting to a really high subscriber viewer number. So,
and I hope to get there someday, and then just mega optimize that too. Right.
Right.
You can do really, really well on YouTube. So
yeah. I mean, imagine how well you'd be doing if you had even 15,000 subscribers.
Yep.
Yeah, we actually have done that with multiple channels here.
Mm-hmm.
We've done some pretty big launches with low subscriber counts. So I think that's completely underutilized. People just hyper focus on getting a bigger and bigger and bigger audience instead of nurturing the audience they have.
Yeah, and it's too bad because people focus on that 4,000 watch hours and that 1,000 subscribers. And you sort of just like put on these little blinders to anything else, which there is some value there, especially if you're really digging in and getting better with your content quality, but you can make money. You can make money as a small creator. Like even now on this small channel that I mentioned of mine, like it is like top of mind for us to get to 1,000 subs because yes, we've monetized in these other ways, but we are getting enough views on the channel that we would probably be able to make another $100, maybe $150 a month just from YouTube ads.
With no effort.
With no extra effort. Yeah. We're already putting in the effort. So it's just like, okay, how can we get these extra subs? We're almost there on the watch hours. So it's like, it is important, but just imagine if we had only waited to do that, we would have been making $150 a month rather than $700 or $800.
So maybe the trick is one blinder.
Yes, one blinder. Yep, exactly.
Okay, I want to know really quick, what were the other objections to your video? When I looked at the comments, it seemed pretty positive, but what were people mad about?
I think that was really the main one. It was the YouTube prefers big channels. And I think I just should have said it a little bit differently. I didn't even realize that it could have come off that way until I watched the video after it had published, and people were kind of mad about that. So that was really the only main thing. The other thing is some people are saying, well, I don't ask for people to subscribe. It's like, okay, cool. You don't have to. I think that if you ask in the right time, at the right time in the video and in the right way, and not be overbearing or begging or needy about it, I think it's fine. If you're offering something of value and people want that, remind them that they want that. Sometimes, when a creator says, hey, if you just like this video, it would make it would help the video get pushed out a little bit farther, I'd really appreciate it. But only do it if you really like the video. I really appreciate calls to action like that because I'm like, okay, it makes me really evaluate. Did I like this video enough that I would recommend it to a friend? If so, I'll hit the thumbs up,
And then they aren't getting an artificial view of a video doing better than it really should have.
Yep.
So they understand their audience better. I did notice in the comments, there was somebody, this is so funny to me because there was somebody who commented and said nothing new here.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Which, I mean, to be fair, people have said this before. Don't ask for a subscribe in the first 5 seconds. That drives a lot of people crazy. But a lot of people don't actually know that, which was what your comment back was. I thought it was lovely. You said, yeah, well, let's just be supportive of everyone because people are in different spots and some people are not aware of these things. Well, then we had like 2 or 3 other commenters saying, oh, I've been asking in the beginning, or I always ask in the beginning, look at my video and tell me if that's okay. And I'm like, well, we just told you in this video that it's not. So I don't know. I thought that was ironic.
Funny. I forgot about that comment. That's funny.
Yeah. But I mean,
haters.
Yeah. And I'm sure there was something new in the video aside from the whole video wasn't just don't ask in the beginning. There's plenty of very novel ideas in that. So anyways, haters don't matter, but I just thought that was funny.
No, I think that's good. I think that was a funny one. And like you said, what I put in that video, it's not like it was totally novel, but it was packaged in a way that was helpful and brief, and hopefully someone got something from it. And I did ask people to subscribe if they did. So We'll have to check. I haven't actually checked. Are we negative subscribers on that video or are we positive?
I don't know. Lately, because of recent pivot, we're often negative, which is fine. We're getting the people we want to stick around, and
yes,
kind of our audience is being curated naturally. But
do you think
it still hurts a little bit?
It does hurt a little bit. Do you think you should ask for subscribers in every video?
No.
Okay.
I don't think it's terrible. I'm on the fence, but I guess I'd have to say no, because I think it holds a little more weight. If people are too used to it, I think it starts going in one ear and out the other. Like if you live next to a train, you don't hear the train anymore.
Right. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that there's also just other value. There's other calls to action that you can get people to do.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes a subscribe is one of them. I think it's just probably one in the rotation of important things to ask people to do. But when you ask one person to do 5 different things in a video every single time,
right?
They're not going to do it. It just muddies up the water, I think.
Especially if you're trying to do other calls to action. Exactly. Yes. Some people get so annoyed by people asking for subscribes. Even if you do it in a really cool way or a funny way, there are definitely people that get mad. I always thought like the way Graham Stephan asks for subscribes was like hilarious, right? But then my brother hates it. He's just like, I hate the way he's always asking you to subscribe. Like, okay, well, there's always going to be people that really, really don't like that. And so it's probably worth it to, not always ask so that you don't drive those people crazy. But
we are down by 1 subscriber.
Oh,
from that video. Not so bad.
We probably gained a few too, though.
Yes, we did. We gained we did lose a couple, but then we gained a couple. And I usually, as the videos, go on and on, we get more. So yeah, I'm sure it will come back into the positive. It is just such a funny thing because at the end of the day, it just really doesn't matter. But it's good. It's good. Like on a video to video basis, I guess is what I mean. Like if we lose 1 subscriber or gain 1, who cares? Right. It doesn't matter. Even for a small channel. Like we just published a video the other week on my channel and we lost 1 subscriber and we're like literally trying to get to 1,000 and it was just like a little bit sad. Like, hey, we needed you. You told us you were going to be here. It feels a little bit personal, but it doesn't have to be. At the end of the day, if you offer value in your videos, people will subscribe. Some topics are just more subscribable than others. Some styles of video are more subscribable than others. If you really would just want to inflate your subscribers, go start a shorts channel. It's not worth a ton other than subscribers, but I know I have a family member actually who started a channel 8 months ago and they have like 73,000 subscribers, but it's all shorts. Nice. They just do shorts and I don't know if they found a way to monetize it yet, but they do have a lot of subs. So
case study. We should make a case study out of that for channel makers. That's interesting. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, like and subscribe.
Yeah. We'll please subscribe to this channel. I hope you have found some value here.
Unless you're listening on Apple Podcasts, and then I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know anything about Apple Podcasts.
I think you can leave us a review, and apparently it's super helpful. I don't even know how to tell you how to do that because it's complicated. I don't know why they make it complicated because it's really helpful to have good reviews on Apple Podcasts. I'll figure it out, and then I'll explain it to you next time, and then you still probably won't do it, which is fine because we're all busy. Yeah. Have a great day.